Hi guys, yeah, so we'll start now. Welcome to the eighth office hours of Cloud. It's an initiative of the product team and the tech team coming together and talking to the users of the product and the enthusiasts who like to use and want to discuss about facets and the product that we have built here. Sure. Okay. Let me share my screen. Yes. Yes. So it's our eighth office hours. Here we'll be talking about two sort of major features that we have shipped in the last release. It is one of them is DB resource inputs and secret manager for GCP. The guys who will be talking about them is Anuj Hyderabadi. He's our senior engineer. He's part of the tech team who has sort of done all the heavy lifting of code, and then Manan Bhandari, who is part of the product team, and then he has done the heavy lifting of writing the PRD and stuff like that. Yeah, and yes, over to you, Manan, talking about DB users.
Yeah, thank you, Kirti. So, as you all know, like we have multiple resources that we have facilitated that can be added in the blueprint. And some of those resources require other resources for them to be successfully deployed in any environment. So now what we have done is we have added a support for input-output modeling of resources, where any resource that requires any other resource, uh, when you add that particular resource, you will be asked to select the required inputs of that resource so that the all the requirements are met uh, pre and you will be able to preventing the release failures. And in this way, it ensures that all the dependencies for the required inputs are met. I'll just quickly demo out the feature so that it will be easier to understand. For example, if in this project I want to add a Mongo user, now it will ask me to, these are the required inputs for the Mongo user to be added. And I have to fulfill all of these resources first. I have to select each instance of these resources to finally add a Mongo user. So in my blueprint, if there are multiple Mongo instances, I can select one of them. Similarly, I have to select one of the Kubernetes cluster and a MongoDB auth operator for the Mongo user to finally successfully be deployed in any of the in this Kubernetes cluster when the environment is launched. Similarly, we have added support for all the DB users. So if I try to add a Postgres user, it will ask me to add a Kubernetes cluster, a database operator, and a Postgres instance. And there are multiple other. So we have added the support for DB users, and in the coming few releases, we'll add the support for this in other resources as well. For example, while you add a Kubernetes flavor service, you should be asked to select a Kubernetes cluster over here, and all this type of input output modeling will be enabled in the future releases. Right now, it has been done for DB users. Also, when you try to disable or enable or delete any of such resources that require inputs, then you will be prompted with the correct message telling you that these resources will also be disabled or enabled along with the resource that you're trying to perform the action on. Um Anuj will quickly tell you on how you can perform this in the YAMLs of the resources. Since we have introduced custom Terraform modules also as part of inner sourcing, users might add resources that are available in this list. And to cater to the input output modeling for such resources, there is a quick way to do that in the YAML, which Anuj will demonstrate.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks, Manan. I'll briefly go through the facets.yaml file that is attached to your module so that your inputs appear when you try to create a resource. So we had an inner sourcing demo last officers. So you know that the modules that facets creates, you can have similar modules as you want, and you will have a similar experience as you currently have on facets with your facets modules. So I'll show the YAML that is created for one of our facet modules and how the inputs are added. So this is the Mongo user module that we have, the default flavor one. We have a new version for it. And We have the spec and sample for it. All this was discussed in the previous office hours itself. The input section is what is new. So what we have is that we need 3 inputs. Uh, all these 3 are what Manan showed you just now. We specified type. The type would be used to identify which resource it expects it from. So that is the most important field here. The rest of them are sugar on the UI, the display name, the description, whether it's optional or not. This will also whether it is a necessary input to create a Mongo user instance or not. So for this case, all 3 are necessary. You need a auth operator, you need a Mongo instance, and you need a Kubernetes cluster. So this is how you try to understand this. This is the facets YAML that we have for it. And now once we look at the type, what we see is that at output / Kubernetes. So this module expects an output of type Kubernetes. So you need to define an output of type Kubernetes, and that will be the output of a Kubernetes module. So I'll show this using the Mongo details example. So you need a type of output Mongo. So you need to have a module that gives an output of type Mongo. The type would be defined in output.facet.yaml file. This is currently just done by our facets team, and eventually this is like a sneak peek into how inner sourcing will work in the future. So we have an output of type Mongo, and that will be this is like a data type. So it will expect all these outputs. And so this is my Mongo intent. So what it does is that it mentions that a Mongo gives an output of type Mongo, and the type is defined here. And my Mongo user expects an input of type Mongo, as we have defined here. So that way it matches those modules, and those appear in your input section. So that is how it briefly works in our backend. And this will be used by everyone who writes their own custom modules in Facets in the future. Yeah, that's it for the required inputs for DB users. The second feature that we are releasing right now is the Google Cloud Secret Manager support. So uh, this is especially for those who have their control planes running in GCP. So most of our control planes are often running in AWS. That was our default earlier. Now that we are supporting Google Cloud control planes as well, we have added support for the secrets manager for that. So we already had support for the AWS secrets manager for AWS control planes. Now we have this as well. So the secrets that you add in our control plane, whatever secret fields that you add, so it may be the secret section in your environments or the account secrets, let's say your cloud credentials, your VCS token credentials, GitHub credentials and all that. All those will be stored in your secrets manager where your control plane is running. So this is a more secure way of storing the data there. So there is nothing that you need to handle here. This is just a backend implementation that we have changed here. Right. Yeah, that should be it. Over to you, Kirti.
Yes. Thanks, Anuj. Thanks, Manan, for the great demo. So basically, essentially, what we have done, what we have achieved with those two features is that our module configuration, right? As in, when we add values in the JSON or the forms of the resources, those are becoming intelligent, and that is what the focus for us has been in terms of the product development and the roadmap is concerned, where we need to sort of make ease of like make features or go in that direction where use of the modules and all those things become very easy and intelligent as well at the same time, so that release failures and launch failures does not occur. Similarly, we are also sort of catering towards the security and the compliance sort of things as well. And here that is one of the reasons that we have added GCP Secret Manager as well. So and well, we are moving in that direction where we are making the product more extensible, adding more features, extending to lots of custom use cases, so making the product as generic as possible so that it serves a lot of custom use cases and serves very different complex use cases as well. So as users, we just don't want the users to sort of use the product in a way that we want them to use. Rather, use the product, use the components, and you sort of use the dynamicity of the product and sort of make it according to yourself and use it for your complex use cases. So yeah, we are heading in that direction. As a product team, we are quite excited, and if you have any feedback, we would love those feedback here. I think there's one Q&A. if I want to make an input required for an existing module not necessary for my company, how do I do that from the UI? Yeah, go ahead, Manoj.
Yeah. So what we have is that an existing module is supported by facets. So those modules will have a restriction as to what all fields are required for, what all inputs are required for that module. What you can have is your own custom module. And that one you can restrict the required inputs based on your facets, your own custom facet level. So you will have your own custom flavor for the same module. Let's say I had shown the default flavor for Mongo user when I did the demo, right? So you can have your own, let's say you name the flavor as your company name and you publish that module using facets. And now in that, you will have your own facets YAML that I shown, and you can customize your inputs as required. So you'll need your own module basically. So the facets module has been designed such that all these three are required fields: the Mongo operator, the Kubernetes cluster, and the MongoDB. All three are required here. That you might have a case where you don't even want a Kubernetes cluster uh, in your implementation of your module. So you can write your own custom module for that. Yeah.
I hope this answers the question. If you have any more questions, please go ahead. So typically the input output modeling is not sort of barring or adding validation stuff like that. It's more like having a logical connection to it so that the release failures and launch failures does not happen. So it's for the ease of use itself and making it intelligent. So if you have custom requirement, you always have the we demoed in the last office hours where inner sourcing is the new feature that is there. Now you can have you can build more custom modules according to your use cases and then sort of enrich the blueprint that you always wanted to. Yeah. So yeah, we'll just, I think that's it. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out to us in the Slack that we have or the emails that we use to send newsletters and stuff. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. These were the two features. Big release is coming up in the next release. We'll have more things to discuss there. Yeah. Go ahead. Thanks, guys. Bye.